You're watching Morning at NTV.
Welcome back to Morning at NTV. Thank you so much for being with us. Of course, from 6:30 to now, we still have a few minutes to go before we wrap this up. And of course, on Take Note today, we'll be talking about matters food security. Food security is critical. Now, tomorrow is World Food Day. The day is celebrated every year around the world on the 16th of October in honor of the date of the founding of Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations in 1945. Now, an agency founded to lead global efforts to defeat world hunger. Now, the world has seen food baskets like Zimbabwe, for example, becoming net importers of food. And today, the conversation is on food security. How are we going to ensure that while defeating world hunger, the effort is sustainable and long-term? So joining us this morning.
Well, of course, Malawi have the country representative for the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization in Uganda. That is Mr. Antonio Corrido, and he joins us right now in studio. Good morning.
Good morning, and thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
First off, I think you start by telling us what is World Food Day, and I also understand you're observing the celebrations tomorrow in Hoima. Why particularly Hoima?
First, the World Food Day, as you know, is one of the most celebrated days in UN calendar.
Right.
It was established in 1979, but since 1981, that every year we have a particular theme that we try to highlight areas need for action, but also to have a common purpose around the theme. This year, World Food Day calls for our actions are our future, healthy diet for a zero hunger world. So it is important at this stage for us to bring our partners, to bring the stakeholders around the critical issues related to food security, and also to our goal to achieve zero hunger by 2030.
Right.
We have chosen Hoima because this year place a focus on food security and nutrition. And the venue will be in Azardi, which is Zonal Agriculture Research Development Institute in Hoima, with the goal for us also to put the focus on producing foods that are nutritious for the population. We're concerned with the food for food security, but also we want the consumers to think what they eat and also to have a healthy
So
diet.
your intentions are really valid, but then let's take a look at the facts. 820 million people worldwide are undernourished or undergoing some kind of malnourished, right there. 820 million people worldwide. 50% of those are in Africa.
Yes.
And 32% of those are in East Africa right here.
Yes.
What can we do to change this burgeoning problem?
Indeed, the trend is alarming because we have seen a decline in terms of hungry people in the world until the years of 2016. But since 16, we have seen an increase, and now as you mentioned, we have 820 million people going every day without a meal. So this is of a concern, and particularly this part of Africa and our continent, we have some critical challenges. First, dealing with peace and security. Insecurity in our continent has been one of the major cause of food insecurity. But also we have some severe weather condition that has been putting some stress on food production system, contributing to this number. Luckily, Africa as a whole, as the continent, we do have the resources to be food secure and self-sufficient, particularly Uganda. Water, rich soils are the resources that we do have to ensure that we don't go a day without a food. But we still have the challenge how we transform our agriculture system to ensure that we have the capability to feed our people.
And where do we start, Mr. Antonio? Because when, from that blind kind of view, of course, from a majority of Ugandans or Africans, so to speak, when you look at the statistics and look at the reality of Africa, we know that many African states and their economy is actually driven by agriculture, not just locally, but also the exports markets as well. Many would say that the economies are driven by that particular factor. And the majority, actually 70% of the African population is in the rural areas, and these are the drivers of the agricultural economy, so to speak. So when we look at those dynamics, and here the statistics are telling us something totally different, what informs that, and where does the contradiction come from, so to speak, and what more can be done to ensure that we boost, especially the statistics, and we boost the livelihoods of the majority of, the Africans, so to speak?
Indeed, our food system and agriculture sector still needs critical investment. When you look at the percent of GDP that most countries in Africa is putting in the agriculture sector, they are far below the target that they agreed a couple of years ago in Malabo to put 10% of their GDP into agriculture sector. Most of the countries are around 3–4%. So when you look the way we've been producing, our agriculture system is still very rudimentary. Mechanization is low, the use of inputs is also low, the use of the irrigation system are almost inexistent. To tell the case of Uganda, only 2.2% of farmlands use irrigated system. So you have a combined lack of investment in the sector that's really dragging this potential, despite the fact that we do have soils and we do have arable land, because 60% of the world arable land is in Africa. So the potential for producing sufficient food is here, but we need critical investment. So the theme of this year is also calls for our action is our future. So actions that we put in terms of improving and transforming our agriculture systems, actions that we put in terms of really supporting the farmers, but also creating the enabling condition for the agriculture sector to really deliver on the promise of feeding the people. But these are complex. Agriculture does not only depend on the farmer, but also the legislator, the institution, the government, and also as the civil society, we are called to be part of this cause to ensure that indeed our people don't go
you're
hungry.
mentioning something very critical, because when we look at the statistics, again, them that are directly involved in farming are living under $1 every single day. So what can governments do to ensure that they move this big number of people who are directly involved in agriculture and groom them well to be able to play in that commercial agriculture space? Because a majority are still doing the subsistence farming, so to speak. So what more can be done to ensure that this big number, them that actually represent the biggest clout in Africa's numbers, are sorted out to play in that particular commercial space?
For too long we have placed too much emphasis on food security and not income security. Our farmers has been producing to feed themselves rather than creating income security and addressing the production to market for them to have the resources to buy food and other things that they need in life. They need to send kids to school. So you need resources. So the agriculture system has to transform. We cannot persist in doing this very rudimentary form of cultivating the land and expecting different the results. So the land productivity in Africa is quite low. The labor productivity in Africa is low. The capital, we know this is quite expensive for farmers to have access to the investment, for them to improve their production system. So is under this complex and lack of investment in the sector that you see the statistics showing us clearly that we're not doing enough. Definitely we have the potential, but we have to transform the way that we're doing things. our farmers have to move from the traditional way of doing agriculture to a more commercial. We have to promote more the cooperatives, how we organize farmers at the local level.
Right.
So the agriculture is seen as a business and not as a subsistence.
Okay.
So our youth see in agriculture a sector where they can make a living, where they can contribute to the development of the country. But this requires a joint effort, not only FAO, but also MAIF, all the stakeholders that are within the sector, for us to collectively think ways that we can address this transformation. But a critical aspect related to agricultural transformation is then how we add value.
Okay.
How
Adding value.
Adding value right
how
there.
we add value.
So, Mr.
Right.
Antonio, facts first. East Africa has the richest land when it comes to loam soil. We have the best land.
Yes,
So,
indeed.
but we are not cultivating the land and taking good use of it. One of the reasons that is being fronted, especially by the East African Legislative Assembly members of Parliament right there, is that governments are focusing on physical infrastructure instead of investing in agriculture. Could that be the reason why we are seeing instances of food insecurity in our region, and how best can we avert this?
You know, development goes by phase, and we do understand and we do comprehend some efforts in terms of building infrastructure, because some infrastructure are critical even for agriculture
And
sector.
for food security.
Yes, because when you build a road, of course you really increasing the access to market. So those are important. But combined with those investment in critical infrastructure, we need more investment going to agriculture sector. How we structure the production system in our part of the world to ensure that we are competitive. Because it's not just a matter of producing, but when you are latecomer in the market, you have to make sure you are competitive. If you're producing corn here in Uganda, you have to be competitive enough, otherwise the market will prefer to buy corn from Argentina. It's cheaper.
So,
Investment has to be in a way that we also do it in an efficient way and are competitive.
Mr. Antonio, the idea is if the government builds a road, it will be used by a farmer to transport their produce. Now we are talking about a scenario where government is not investing in agriculture and the farmers are focusing on subsistence farming. No one will be using these roads. In your opinion, don't you think that it's irrelevant to focus on the roads without empowering the farmers first to engage in commercial agriculture?
The challenge is that we still have a broad base of subsistence farmers. Of course, we have, even in Uganda, we have about 68% of farmers that are doing subsistence agriculture. So you really have a broad base that is a large number of households involved in this type of agriculture. They lack some skills to do this transition. So this requires some time. Of course, you have those that are already doing the commercial agriculture, and the export earns in Uganda is agriculture contributes to 50% out of the small number that are doing commercial agriculture. So the potential is there. So going forward, we really have to invest more to see how we go and target this 60% farmers that are still doing an agriculture.
Yeah, and at the moment, it seems like our local governments are not doing anything now. As the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization, what are you doing to empower our farmers, our subsistence farmers, so that they could elevate to commercial agriculture?
Our main focus has been on how we work at the community level to improve both production and productivity, looking at sustainable way of doing agriculture, but doing it in ways that you improve the production and work with the communities to have the appropriate skills for them to gradually transition to an agriculture that is more efficient. We are also concerned with some aspects related to climate change. We are concerned with empowering the women. As you know, out of this 68%, 75% are women. We know that there is a gap between the yield of a plot that is produced by a man compare with a plot that is worked by a woman. So we've been working in ways to empower and to really reduce this yield gap that we do see between gender. We also work on the livestock to improve and to ensure that Uganda livestock sector continue to do the right investment as the population increase, as the demand also increase in terms of animal products, that your livestock sector also can follow this the development. Another area that we work is on fisheries, which is an important source of food for the diet here in Uganda, but also forestry. We've been working with the forestry sector in terms of conservation, but also to reduce the pressure on the natural forest. So our effort is comprehensive, working always in close collaboration with the Ministry of Agriculture to ensure that we deliver on the promise and to put focus on how Uganda will also help the world to
Well, of
achieve
course, you did
zero
hint
hunger.
on a very crucial aspect right there, climate change. Let's talk about the debilitating effects of climate change in this regard. October-December rains are upon us, especially the agro-pastoral areas are the most affected in that regard. How does climate change exacerbate food insecurity in the region and beyond?
It has been the major factor of food insecurity in the region. We have seen patterns of climate variability that are unusual. Sometimes the rains are late, others the rains are excessive, provoking some natural disaster associated with landslide and others. So climate variability and climate change has been a major threat to the agriculture sector in Africa and throughout the world. One approach to this is then how we work in terms of adaptation. What are the adaptation measures that we have to put in place to ensure that our farmers are more resilient and facing the shock of climate change, they can still, adapt, absorb the shock, and still continue to produce. Another aspect has to do with the introduction of crops that are resistant. In face of decreasing rainfall, in uncertainty in weather pattern, you definitely need crops that are more resistant. We talked earlier in terms of irrigation system. Because the weather there is a lot of variability. We have to rely less and less on the rainfall.
Yes.
For a country that 20% of your land is covered by water, so irrigation is a way to go to ensure that we really we're adapt.
Well, of course, the water is there, Mr. Antonio, but then there are no tools to get that water from that source to the garden. How best can you empower that farmer who has no income to get these tools?
Water has to be central to agriculture production. As you know, is a limiting factor. Without water, we have no production, being from the rainfall or mobilizing for the resources.
So right now the challenge is absence of the irrigation tools.
Is the investment on irrigation system that delivered water at the farm level. And water that is affordable, water that is accessible, but for farmers to use it also in a sustainable manner. The going forward in the context of climate change is how efficient also we use the resources, including water.
Okay, let's look at the value chains, the agricultural value chains, and we know that actually over 70% of what we produce is exported in the raw form. We don't add value anymore, and that's where the benefits are in. This produce goes out there, these people add value, and they bring them back to our shelves, and we purchase the finished product. Now, in terms of creating industries, and that's where we know that we're going to be able to sort the unemployment issue out, where does government start? They always say there's competing priorities. Seems like we're somewhat comfortable with the exports that we're having currently of raw materials, but in terms of us just adding value within, what is that critical
value
point
addition
in terms of starting
critical.
value addition?
I've been saying constantly that if you don't add value, you're not only exporting the raw material, but you are exporting the jobs.
Yes.
Because value addition creates opportunities for us within a particular value chain to employ more youth, to employ more our people. So it's critical that we add value on our product, and because we know that once you add value, you the transformed product usually more value than the original.
Right, even 5 times expensive.
So right. the challenge for Uganda and a number of African countries then, how you create a system that not only you improve the production at the farmers level, but also you go for transformation. How you add the processing aspect to ensure that you can take a particular product and you add value. I take you the example of maize. We normally in our region only use maize for 2 reasons. The grains directly or the flour.
Right.
But you know that out of maize we can take more than 18 sub-products, right. Which is there is a market elsewhere. So transformation is critical. How we link the production system to the agro-processing and to ensure that we also have a market. So it's within this continuum that an investment has to be made in a really strategic way. Because if you invest only in agro-processing and neglecting the production system and the farmers, sure you will not have this value addition that we desire. But I think a good thing to highlight is that the 3rd National Development Plan that is in preparation gives agriculture sector and agro-transformation as a critical pillar.
Right.
So, Mr. Antonio, I'm afraid we are running out of time. I'm afraid we are running out of time, and I would like us to focus maybe on Uganda, maybe this last 1 minute before we go. Last year, 1.3 million people were in need of food right here in Uganda. Now, this year, it skyrocketed 15% to 1.6 million people right there. What will it take to defeat hunger in Uganda in particular?
I think the challenge of Uganda is how we improve food distribution. Your country is a lucky country because you are blessed in terms of the resource. You have areas with surplus and you have areas with some deficit. One aspect is then how we address this, the distribution. How do we ensure that we can provide the food for those that are in need, knowing that internally what we're producing is still sufficient to feed everyone. Of course, we have some pockets of food insecurity, particularly in northern eastern Uganda, is well known. But we know that we do have excess in the north, in the south and west. So the challenge is then how we improve the distribution system and ensure that the food is delivered. At the same time, doing the right investment in agriculture production to ensure that we continue to improve.
Awesome. I'm afraid we'll have to leave it at that. Many thanks for having made the time to speak with us. Mr. Quintino, right there. Antonio, the UN representative for the Food and Agriculture Organization at the United Nations, right there. The banter has been centered on the debilitating effects of climate change, how governments can do their part in that regard, food insecurity in East Africa, Africa as a whole. 32% in East Africa, 50% in Africa, and 820 million people worldwide are undernourished in that regard. So there is need for concerted efforts on all governments worldwide to defeat this as we head into the World Food Day that will be observed in Hoima tomorrow right there. Well, next we are headed into the traffic update. Our reporter Stephen Bide is on standby to give us the latest. Good morning, my brother. What's the latest on our roads?
Good morning, Romeo and the beautiful Mala there. It's good to have you back. But unfortunately, I'm not on the road right now. Ndieno na omuntu wa wansi. Just in Kisenyi wano wendi we wakutte omuliro akawungeza akayise era abantu bangi ddala bafiiriddwa emaali ewerera ddala omuli abo abafumba emmere omuli abo abatunda ebyokunywa bafiiriddwa firiigi zaabwe kussa n'abo abasulamu wano waliwo n'amayumba agasulwamu era bangi ddala emifaliso nagirabyeko akawungezi k'eggulo kuva ku ssaawa nga 11 nga bazijjayo nga giyidde ate ng'abalala bagezaako kutaakiriza. Last evening around 5 p.m. it was really a tragedy here down in Kisenyi. This is Kajjo zone just next to the Christianity Focus Center Church, a church that is led by Bishop David Chiganda down here in Central District or Central Division of Kampala. Abantu here abamu abakolera wano kosana abasulawo bakeddedde okulaba nga ate bageza kulaba nga balaba biki ebyataakiriziddwa mu muliro gwakutewa na kawungezi akayise ku ssaawa 11. Yes, I came here around 5:45 and I was told that the fire broke out around close to 5, and I found here only 2 fire brigade vehicles that we are trying to join the people who reside here and those who work here to try and put off the fire. But of course, lots of property were already damaged and we could not be used again. But of course, the question is, who will be compensating these people? What was the cause of the fire? With the people, was this property under insurance? Of course not, because many of these people are just Juwakali and others are just trying to cope up with hard life, and many of them don't know even what insurance is all about. Abantu bangi nnyo wano abakedde akansuke njogereko ne ssentebe w'ekitundu kino ekyaka Kajjo zone wano mu Kisenyi atubuulire ye ndaba akulembeddemu abantu bangi kugeza okulaba nga balaba biki ebyasigaddewo oba n'okulaba nga bebamu ku babadde bageza kutaakiriza omuliro nga begasse ku poliisi kubanga natuuse wano akawungeezi nga ndaba poliisi yali talina amazzi gamala ne bageza okulaba nga basse n'amazzi bagase na mwala okulaba nga bazikiriza omuliro naye omuliro gwadde gw'omungi ddala. Ssebo wasota ssentebe nga mwalabye n'ekyabaguddeko wano kakati ndaba kiki ekigenda mu maaso mu ssaawa zino ebintu bimeka ebyayonoonese mu muliro guno gwaguddewo eggulo?
Ebintu ebyayonoonese mu zooni yange eno bwe mbikubuulira simala bukadde na bukadde, era nga bwolaba abatuuze bange bano bwolaba basinga basigadde mu ngoye nga zola zibambadde zibasigazza. Kifo kya fire brigade twagikubidde essimu bwe yatuuse okujja tuyazze n'amazzi guno mwe tugwanituse wano wonna wonna batugamba fire brigade zibeera occupied ziba zirimu amazzi zibeera ki naye wezazze nga temuli mazzi, eyasoose temwabadde mazzi, eyokubiri temwabadde mazzi. Kati abatuuze bennyini bakakajjo n'abavubuka bonna bebakozemu omukolo okulaba nga tuzibikira emyalo egyo egitambuza amazzi okulaba nga amazzi tegagenda ge twasobole okulaba nga tutaasataasaako. Era tubakwatiza joint operation ng'abavubuka n'abatuuze senga kakajjo naye yandikoze eki yandibadde eweddewo. Naye tusaba gavumenti fire brigade ebanga eri ku standby ebenga standby ng'erijjudde eki amazzi. Ne bagamba nti kaliro katono gweleeta kiroole kireete sikumala kweta simeki katono kamale kulaba nti ate kumanya nti egeji y'omuliro eryeta balekwe baleeta ennene ne bagireese oluvannyuma nga nayo terina amazzi.
Nalabyeko wano eggulo nga n'okutuuka obutuusi wano kyadde kizibu fire brigade okutuukawo wano kubanga olaba nga weetooloddwa amayumba naye era tekijjaawo kiri ekyokuba nti zaadde bbiri zokka ng'ate eri emu yadde terina mazzi gamala kubanga nakirabiddeko nange akawungezi k'eggulo. Naye gwe nga ssentebe kati kiki kimuzzaako mwategedde ye omuliro guno kiko kyavudde
omuliro guno gwaviridde wagukubye omugongo awo gwavudde ku masannyalaze gwatandikidde waggulu si wansi. Singa wadde gwatandikidde wansi twandibadde tukola ki tuguzikiza mangu kuba twabaddewo naye gwatandikira nga tulina wooyita kuzikiza waggulu. Ensonga ky'omuliro gwakutte ne bwe guti era nekyeransaba ne ba landlords bwe bazimba balekengawo amakubo naye buli omu bamuno ngemanyi nti bali ku mugotteko baagala kuzimba kumalayo wakola ki ye waayita kuba yagala kufuna akasente tayagala kubo kubeera weyagala waayita wamalayo ekigenda okuleeta obuzibu mu kisenyi kyaffe kino ate tuli mu mugotteko. Ekyokubiri mbadde nsaba abakulembeze baffe betwalonda ng'MP Nsereko meya balodi meya bakansalas bajje bagulye omulango batudduukirire kuba abantu baffe kati bali bubi embeera gye balimu kati tusuubira bagimanyi bagitegedde kuba luli twali ku muliro gwayo ky'abaana recently bagulirako abaana bana abaafa muliro gwakwatawo misana era baana ne bafa mu nyumba baana bana naye batusuubiza tetugende wa minisita wa Kampala. Minisita wa Kampala n'atusuubiza okuyamba abantu ne batugamba tu appointment ne tugendayo batugamba mu appointment temuliimu ne batuwa ofiisi z'amasimu ne tuzikuba ne batugamba tebana appointment date ne tulaba nti kati bo batwagala mu bululu naye tebatwagala nga tuli balamu
atubasabire bajje babayambe ssentebe nze nkumanyi nga mwami Kakande simanyi abalala babuli amanya go mbojju
nze Kakande Godfrey Sebo
ssentebe wa Kakajjo wano kanjogere kati naye kuba ku bantu abafiiriddwa emali yaabwe wano abamu kubakolera gambye nti loss of property was lost down here in Kisenyi in Kakajjo zone where fire broke out around 5 p.m. in the evening, and of course this place houses milling factories, those which process maize flour. That is just outside this place. But here, many of the people who lost property are those who are doing catering services, and others are just doing refrigeration services, giving some soft drinks and lost their refrigerators, and others are just residing around this place. Many of them I saw last evening getting property like utensils and bed sheets that were beddings like of course, and like mattresses which were already burnt down to ashes, and it took the effort of UPDF, the local defense unit, and these people around here to put up fire around close to 9 p.m. The fire that broke out around 5 p.m. It was really a tense exercise. Let me speak to some of the people who lost property here to tell me their experience. Of course, I was also part of those because I lost my phone around this place last evening. But of course, I know there are some good people who are protecting NTV crew, and others, bad elements at least, were on ground still. And my phone, that's how it got lost around this place. But kanjugereko n'abatuuze wano namu kubakolera wano bambuli bikibbo bebafiiriddwa muliro guno na kiki baagala kibe nga kikolebwa mu kutaakiriza obubenje bw'omuliro ate ne bwanga baguddewo omuliro ki ekiba kirina okuba nga kikolebwa. Sebo amanyago na kiki okola wano mu Kisenyi.
Bigoma John.
Sebo gwo mu kubafiiriddwa ebintu wano.
Zirafiiriddwa ebintu. In fact kinafiiriddwa nabadde nakola nologi zange ezo. In fact mbadde nakazizimba nga nakateekamu obukadde 8 kubadde bizibadde 2 eno neeyo. Naye kati kyeneewuniza nnyo era kyebagamba ku luno omaze okukikakasa kubanga emmotoka zaaze we yasoose tiyabadde mu maazi wadekamu yabadde wali ate kali ne blocking emmotoka ezabadde mu amaazi nga ziri eri. In fact ekintu ekyo kyakyewuunira kyakyewuunyiza ddala zaaze emmotoka nga timuli maazi ne tugezaako omuliro gwatandise okuva eri ne gutambula mpola emmotoka eri wali ati mulimu amaazi ate nga blocking zirimu amaazi netuuka n'ebyo abantu ebintu by'abantu byonna ne bifa.
Okay, for someone who doesn't speak Luganda, how much property did you lose and what were you doing around this place?
Nafiiriddwa emifaliso 4 bazabadde wano. Yes. Ezo nafiiriddwa babaddemu n'ebintu by'abakasitoma bange. Yes, n'ebintu by'abakasitomas byonna. Awulira. So awo simanyi ngeri bwengenda kuyambibwa.
Okay. Sebo ate gwe wano mu Kisenyi okola buki?
Wano mu Kisenyi wenkulidde era wewofe. Ngamanya gange nze Uzaima bali sente. Twabadde wano saawa zabadde nga 10 nga tumaliza okukola tuwummudde mu biseera byaffe eby'eddembe. Bagenza olaba ekizimbe nga kikwata omuliro waggulu tugambe bannange tukoze tutya. Ng'abatuuze ne twesolooza ne tugenda ne tusomba amazzi okuzikiza omuliro ogwo ate nga tekisoboka. Fire brigade zazze nga terina ziyita tewali makubo ne tutandika kulinnya ku bizimbe waggulu okuyisa empiira zisobole okola ki naye nga yasoose teyabaddemu mazzi ne twerwanyirira nga ffe abatuuze naye twafiiridde ebintu byaffe bingi nnyo. Owaffe wali wansi tewali wadde n'ekintu wadde n'ekyo mwabaddemu emifaliso masepiki kijjukire badde na woteeri byonna teri kye twasigaziza.
Kibi nnyo. Njogereko n'omukyala ate omu nabo kubakolera mu kitundu kino. Jeff, if you can see this lady, I think will be the last one to talk to us. She will be the last one. Nyabo wasiza otya? Namulabye n'omuliro guno gwabatuuseko mu kitundu kino.
Munango omuliro gwamazeewo ebintu byaffe byonna. Ebintu byaweddewo baddemu obuloogi obudaala n'amaduuka ate ebisigaddewo abaye babiddye nnyo.
Obadde okola ki wano mu kitundu kino?
Sibaddewo tulinawo obubaala obuloogi ne woteeri byonna byaweddewo.
mugeraageranya mu lunaku badde ofuna ssente nga mmeka ng'okoze wano mu Kisenyi?
Anti kati omuntu asobola sevinga emitwalo nga 16 w'ebityo kati tekyasobola
byogerako.
Kati ki ky'osaba abakulembeze kubanga mmanyi obadde olina insurance mu bintu by'okola kubanga kiba kizibu nnyo ku bantu omuntu wa wansi
Twafiiriddwa.
tetulina insurance ffe kati nga bizinesi zaffe zino tusobola kubeera ne insurance olwanga zirimu mu mugotteko biringa biggeto naye tusaba abakulembeze batuyambe onalebo mediseroko wano buli obagwawo kizibu tajja mpozi meeya gundi Sserunjo gye yabeerawo naye ababaka abalala bonna tebajja.
Kibi nnyo ekyatuuse ku bantu ng'omukyalo ono kubanga they lost a lot of property here. She says she was operating a lodge here, Romeo, and she was operating a restaurant around this place and a bar. Of course, these are some of the people who lost property in the fire that razed this place in Kisenyi Kakajo zone last evening, and the operation took Uganda Police Fire and Rescue Services to stop it with the people who are operating around this place. But of course, their complaint from the chairperson, that is Kakande, says that it's already, they were fire brigade late to come. But this, of course, Romeo, is the big question is, will these people be compensated? Now hand you back to you, Romeo. Take on the conversation on Morning at NTV. Stephen Imbidet here right on the ground in Kisenyi. Have a good day.